Next up, we have Arnold Allen versus Dan Hooker. Allen coming in as a negative 120 favorite, Hooker plus 100 underdog. Very surprising to me. The odds are very close on this, so it's basically a 50-50 from the odds makers. What are your thoughts on this fight, Fern?
With Allen, it's definitely interesting that he is, the favorite. I just look at his record and some of the wins. He's got a notable win over Gilbert Melendez, who, if any of you guys followed any of the previous, WEC, he's a Nick Diaz training partner with Jake Shields. Used to be called the Scrap Pack back in the day. I loved watching them fight because they would just demolish people. And, the Diaz brothers have definitely continued that reputation that they built. Gilbert Melendez, was definitely at the end of his career in this fight. Allen was very impressive in that, though. Even though they're decision victories, he is Faraz Sahabi trained. For any of you guys who remember, he's GSP's trainer. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see GSP make an appearance. It seems like GSP's been making an appearance with Faraz Sahabi for the last couple of fights as well. Interesting fight that he had the last fight. He just was able to jab the guy nonstop, and the most damage I've seen by a jab in a long time. Just bloodied him up. Just has a great strong jab, and I think that's going to be a key to victory because when somebody has that, they're able to keep the distance, keep the pace, set up their strong counter, their strong hooks. Strongest jab I've seen in a really long time. With Hooker, I'm surprised he's not the favorite. He definitely had his last loss to Makachev, but his other victories have been, he's trains with Israel Adesanya, those great fighters coming out of New Zealand, Australia. His fight against Hawk Paras was a very exciting back and forth fight where there was tons of grappling, tons of striking. I, had fun rewatching that. I watched that not too long ago when Hawk Paras fought a couple weeks ago. So Hooker definitely has the kickboxing style, great knees, leads with the jab to kind of keep the distance. He was able to kind of steer Hawk Paras with his jab, just keep his arm straight out there and just like turn him right, turn him left, and kicked then when he started getting him to go to right or left, was able to kick to stop the circling. Great knees from clinch, taller fighter. I think if there's a modern day kind of kickbox style fighter, it's Hooker. He's got great everything, I think, and decent takedowns. He ended up taking down Hawk Pross a couple times. We saw that definitely against Makachev. Makachev had the better grappling by far. I'm interested why this is a co-main event because Allen really isn't well known, and Hooker is, and I think the UFC kind of blew it by not having Paddy Pimblett be the co-main event. Just give him the chance. You're pushing him anyways into to open up that European UK market, like I feel they did with Bisping and Conor McGregor. Like you're in London, you have have your guy who everyone is excited to be the co-main event, and I guarantee they're gonna regret doing so because I'm definitely more interested in the Paddy Pimblett fight. Because win or lose, I want to see him. I want to see him fight. Versus Hooker and Allen, I'm not as excited about this one as I am the Pimblett fight. But that's just me.
Yeah, I love watching Arnold Allen. When we talk about the difference between Allen and Pimblett, Allen, very well polished striker. I feel like when I'm watching his fights, this is an instructional video on how to do striking correctly. Just very tight defense, seemed very composed, doesn't seem to get emotional. He's just very to the point, very business first kind of fighter. And Allen is on a 10 fight win streak. I think that might be the reason why the odds makers are favoring Allen, whereas Hooker's coming off of a loss, and he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. But again, it's against the top guys. His losses are to Poirier, Chandler, and Makachev. So, I feel like that doesn't take too much away. You can still be a top guy, and you're losing to other top guys. It's not like he's terrible. Hooker obviously is a great fighter. He's got wins over Alaquinta, over Paul Felder, James Vick, Gilbert Burns, Jim Miller. I mean, this guy is definitely a top fighter in the UFC. But yeah, I'm curious how this is going to play out. because Arnold Allen has not faced quite the competition that Hooker has. So Allen on the 10 fight win streak, he's racked up those wins against not necessarily the top guys in the UFC. Although he has fought some tough guys, not nearly the resume that Dan Hooker is bringing to the table. And as far as him being the co-main, I think the UFC is seeing, Allen is undefeated in the UFC, and he's had a lot of fights already. So there could be a title shot for this guy not too far down the line. Maybe 2 more wins, he could be looking at a title fight. So as far as putting him on the co-main, I think that makes sense. Pimlet, it's only his second fight in the UFC, so I get that it's in England, but in terms of top guys, Allen's been with the organization for a long time, as has Hooker. Hooker is already a main card fighter. He's had 2 or 3 main card, or he's been the main fight in at least 3 times, I think. So I feel like any fight that Dan Hooker is going to be in, he's going to be near the top of the card, and he's bringing Allen with him. You're right, Allen's not as well known, but I feel like this is going to be his opportunity to really make a statement. If he gets a win over Dan Hooker, that'll be a really big deal, and that could set him up for, he could be one win away, beat another guy in the top 5 in his division. He could be looking at a title shot for sure.
No, for sure. Allen definitely, you mentioned like the crispiness of his technique. Definitely can tell he's TriStar trained. Like when GSP fought, he had the crispest left jab I ever saw. And I feel like Allen is well on his way to showing that in this fight. Definitely, this is the UFC's chance to, launch a couple of fighters to some hopefully title shots. You look at Molly McCann, Gunnar Nelson, Paddy Pimblett, Arnold Allen. This place is going to be freaking loud. I guarantee it. I guarantee. They have a lot of great fighters to root for, to cheer for. And, I hope that, if they all win, that's going to set up a great, hopefully another card in the UK or somewhere in Europe. I love watching those cards, and I think it's been just too long since we've seen them. Very excited about this. Very excited about, all these fights happening.
West Coast